Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
They tried to erase me with a lie, deepfakes, forged scandals, a digital smear campaign that set the internet on fire. Overnight, I went from beloved actress to public enemy. But this isn't just a story about destruction. It's about revenge. About one woman ripping back control from the shadows that tried to silence her. My name is Emma Marlowe. And if you're going to burn my reputation, then I'll light the match myself. Welcome to the Skillful Art of Manipulation podcast. If you haven't already, please consider following us on your favorite podcast platform. Today we present to you Shadows of the Past. Let's dive into this thrilling narrative together. Chapter 1. The Snap. I didn't hear the world shatter. That's not how it works. Not really. There's no dramatic sound effect, no glass-breaking moment, no theatrical gasp that lets you know your entire identity has just been stripped down to ash. It's quieter than that. Slower. More calculated. Like a single match striking against your skin, again and again, until the pain becomes so familiar, you stop flinching. It started on a Tuesday. A calm, mindless Tuesday. I remember it because it was Nora's birthday. My assistant, the one person who had stuck by me since the very beginning when I was still doing toothpaste commercials and regional theater in Boston. She hated birthdays, thought they were pretentious, but I dragged her to brunch anyway. We went to this little spot in Laurel Canyon. Hidden, cozy, the kind of place where the waiters don't blink twice when a celebrity walks in without makeup. I ordered the lemon ricotta pancakes and a matcha. Nora got her usual black coffee and scowled every time I said the word, celebrate. It felt normal, safe, familiar. I wish I had clung to that moment longer. My phone buzzed the first time just as the waiter dropped off our check. I didn't look at it. I had promised Nora no work stuff for at least an hour. Then it buzzed again, and again, and again. It felt like a pulse against my thigh. Persistent, urgent. My stomach tightened. Nora's phone lit up too. She frowned. "Do you want to handle it?" she asked softly, probably thinking it was a minor PR emergency or some overzealous tabloid hounding me about a dress I wore wrong on the red carpet. I shook my head. I didn't want to break the spell of the moment. But when I saw her face pale as she glanced down at her screen, I knew the spell had already been broken for me. She passed me her phone, and that's when I saw the headline. Exclusive. Leaked photos reveal Emma Marlowe's darkest secret. Beneath it was a collage of images. Intimate, explicit, damning. Except, they weren't real. They couldn't be. One of them showed me in a hotel bed with a man I didn't recognize. Another featured me holding what looked like cocaine. My hand. My body. My face. But not my life. Not my truth. Someone had taken pieces of me, maybe old photos, maybe screen grabs from films, and stitched them together like some Frankenstein fantasy. It was sick. I stared at the screen until the colors bled into one another. The sounds around me went muffled, like I'd been thrown underwater. My vision narrowed. I couldn't think, couldn't blink. I just kept hearing one word over and over in my head. Ruined. I stumbled out of the cafe like I had just been shot. Nora trailed behind, trying to talk to me, but her words didn't register. Everything moved in slow motion. A couple walked past and looked at me with that kind of twisted curiosity that only comes when a celebrity becomes the story. A waiter held the door open. A car honked. But I wasn't there anymore. I was spiraling. My apartment was a blur. I barely remember getting in the car, or Nora driving me home. What I do remember is locking the door behind me and collapsing onto the hardwood floor like a puppet with its strings cut. I lay there, still dressed in my designer brunch outfit, cheek pressed to the cold floorboards, breath hitching. The walls around me were too white, too clean. The silence screamed louder than any headline ever could. I eventually crawled into the living room and turned on the TV, not to watch anything, but just to break the silence. The screen lit up, reflecting my face back at me in that cruel, unforgiving way only high definition can. And I didn't recognize the woman staring back. I looked hollow, haunted. My eyeliner had smudged, my mouth was slightly open, and my hands trembled in my lap like I had just committed a crime. Except I hadn't. I hadn't done a damn thing wrong. But in that moment, I already knew it didn't matter. Because the truth doesn't go viral. By the time I checked my phone, I had over 300 missed notifications. Twitter, Instagram, texts, emails, even a missed call from my mother, who usually avoided public scandal like the plague. My agent had left me 4 voicemails, each more panicked than the last. My publicist, Natalie, had sent me a single text: "Stay calm. Do not post." I'm on it. But I wasn't calm. I was unraveling. The worst part wasn't the images. It wasn't even the article. It was the comments. Knew she was fake. Typical Hollywood whore. Bet she slept her way to those awards. This is who your daughters look up to, folks. I wanted to scream. I wanted to smash my phone into a million pieces and set the shards on fire. But instead, I sat there, frozen. Because a part of me was afraid it would only get worse. And that's when I saw his name in my inbox. Julian Wolfe. It hit me like a fucking freight train. My vision tunneled. My heart dropped into my stomach. I hadn't seen that name in 5 years. Not since the night we parted ways in the kind of explosive fallout that leaves collateral damage for years. Back then, Julian was just another actor trying to claw his way to fame. We did a gritty indie film together. A 2-person psychological thriller where the lines between acting and reality blurred in dangerous ways. He was magnetic, intense, a genius, in his own twisted way, but also manipulative, controlling, and vindictive. He had warned me once, after I landed a part he wanted, after I walked away from him and didn't look back. He'd leaned in close at a rap party, his voice low, dark, venomous. "You think you're untouchable, Emma? You're not. I can ruin you with one click." At the time, I had laughed it off, called him dramatic, a narcissist. But now, I was seeing his fingerprints all over the smear. The email was short. "Nice photos, Em." Smiley face. More where that came from. My blood ran cold. I closed the laptop with shaking hands and tried to steady my breathing. I was pacing by then, pacing like a caged animal. I couldn't go to the police, not without risking more headlines. I couldn't trust the studio, they'd cut me loose if they smelled scandal. And I sure as hell couldn't trust social media. That beast had already chosen sides. I was alone. Utterly, terrifyingly alone. But beneath the fear, beneath the shame and the panic and the shock, there was something else blooming inside me. Rage. Not the quiet, slow kind. Not the smoldering type you nurse in silence. This was feral. Sharp. It clawed up my throat and wrapped itself around my spine. Julian had started a war. And I wasn't going down without a fight. Chapter 2. Poison in the spotlight. The morning after felt like waking up inside a nightmare that had lost its edges. Everything was blurred, dull, as if someone had sucked the color out of the world. My sheets were twisted around me like a straitjacket, the room stifling despite the open windows. I hadn't slept. Not really. I had drifted in and out of shallow, fragmented dreams, each one looping back to that goddamn headline, to Julian's smirking email, to the comment section that was already branding me guilty. I stared at the ceiling. My thoughts didn't feel like my own anymore. They were tainted, infected by the voices of strangers, by the anonymous vultures dissecting me in real time across 1,000 screens. Every second that passed without a rebuttal, without a public statement, made me feel smaller, more powerless. Like I was slowly being erased and replaced by a version of me I didn't recognize. A scandal, a joke, a slut. My phone buzzed again. I ignored it. Buzz, buzz, buzz. I finally reached for it, expecting more poison. Instead, it was a call from Natalie, my publicist. I hesitated. Part of me didn't want to hear what she had to say. The other part clung to her voice like it was the only lifeline I had left. "Emma," she said the second I answered, her voice clipped, efficient, already in crisis mode. "We need to talk now. I've scheduled a private meeting at the Beverly Hills office. No press. No cameras. Just you, me, and Leo." "Leo." My voice was hoarse. "Your legal counsel. The studio insisted we bring him in." I pressed my fingers to my temple, heart beginning to race. "The studio knows?" Natalie sighed. "It's everywhere, Emma." By noon yesterday, it had over 12 million impressions. Hashtags. Reddit threads. TikToks. It's viral. They're scared. Of course they were. No studio wants to touch a scandal, not unless they can spin it into box office gold. And this wasn't sexy tabloid fluff. This was career-ending, blacklist territory. My name had become radioactive overnight. "I'll be there," I said, voice low. "You're not driving," she snapped. "I'll send a car. And wear something plain. No jewelry. No lashes. You don't need to look like a star today. You need to look human." That stung. But she was right. I hung up and walked to the mirror. There she was again. The hollowed-out version of me. Pale. Swollen eyes. Lips cracked from stress biting. I hadn't looked this fragile in years. Not since I'd first moved to LA and lived in a studio apartment above a
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
nail salon, eating instant noodles between auditions. Fame changes you. Not just your wardrobe or your friends. It rewires your entire nervous system. You learn how to pose in pain. How to smile through sabotage. How to disappear when the cameras are off. But nothing had prepared me for this, for having my image twisted, my body violated, my name dragged through sewage by someone I used to trust. I showered in silence, letting the water scald my skin until it turned red. I wanted to feel something. Pain was easier than helplessness. The black SUV Natalie sent was parked outside within 30 minutes. I climbed in wearing a plain gray hoodie, no makeup, hair pulled back in a low knot. I looked like any other LA woman trying not to be seen. I kept my head low as the driver pulled into traffic, the city humming with its usual cruel indifference. LA doesn't stop for anyone, not even a fallen star. The meeting was held in a glass-walled conference room, tinted for privacy. Natalie was already there when I arrived, seated with her legs crossed, phone in one hand, a large black folder in the other. Leo, my lawyer, was pacing, suit jacket off, shirt sleeves rolled, jaw clenched. The moment I entered, both turned to me like I was the walking embodiment of a nuclear disaster. "Sit," Natalie said gently. "Let's walk through what we're dealing with." Leo slid a file across the table toward me. "These are the images circulating. We've confirmed at least 5 were manipulated using AI or advanced composite editing. The rest, well, we're still investigating." I opened the folder. Even though I'd seen most of them online, something about holding them, physical printouts, cold and clinical, made them feel more real. One showed me at what looked like a sex party. Another, bent over a balcony with a line of powder on the railing. All fake, but real enough to fool the world. "Julian Wolfe," I muttered, fingers gripping the edge of the table. Natalie raised an eyebrow. "You're sure it's him?" He emailed me, taunted me. He warned me once years ago that he'd do something like this. Leo leaned forward. Do you have proof? I deleted the email. Jesus, Emma, he hissed. I panicked, okay? I snapped, heat rising to my cheeks. I didn't think. Well, think now, he interrupted, voice sharp. This isn't just a PR nightmare. It's a potential legal war. Libel, defamation, cyber harassment. But if we can't tie it to him, he walks. And you burn. Natalie intervened before I could explode. We need to stay focused. Emma, the studio is panicking. They've paused your current project and frozen your promotional appearances. They want a public apology, even if you didn't do anything wrong. Just enough to calm the tide. An apology? My voice broke. For what? For being attacked. They don't care about justice, she said. They care about perception. About headlines. About numbers. I leaned back, suddenly exhausted. Then I'm already dead. No, Leo said. You're not. Not if we get ahead of this. How? I whispered. He opened another folder. Inside was a plan, a 3-tiered strategy. Phase 1. Damage control. Phase 2. Digital forensics. Phase 3. Public reclamation. It was brutal. It involved silence, sacrifice, and a carefully orchestrated comeback. But it meant playing the game. Playing nice. While Julian got to hide in the shadows. I'm not going to be quiet, I said finally, my voice steadying. He came for me. He invaded my life. He twisted the truth, and now he's trying to bury me under it. I won't let him. Natalie looked at me, surprised. Then we fight, Leo said simply. But we fight smart. By the end of the meeting, we had a plan. A press statement that acknowledged the smear but didn't confirm guilt. A private team of investigators to dig into Julian's digital trail. A public silence that would give us time to regain control of the narrative. But even as I nodded along, agreed to every step, every strategic play, there was something else building inside me. This wasn't just about salvaging a career anymore. It was personal. Because I knew Julian. I knew how he operated. I knew he wouldn't stop until he saw me destroyed, until my name was a punchline and my face synonymous with disgrace. He was the type to play long games. To plant poison and wait for it to bloom. But I wasn't the same girl he once manipulated on set. I wasn't fragile anymore. I had nothing left to lose now. And that made me dangerous. Chapter 3. The Wolves Among Us. The thing about wolves is that they don't always snarl when they're about to strike. Sometimes, they smile. Sometimes they call you darling, and laugh at your jokes and stand beside you on red carpets like they're proud to know you. Sometimes they hold your hand in rehearsals, tell you you're brilliant, whisper in your ear that you're one of the few real ones left in this town. And then they wait. Patient. Predatory. Until the moment you're exposed, raw and trembling, and then they sink their teeth in. Julian Wolfe had always been that kind of wolf. And now I could feel him circling again, even if I couldn't see him. The days after the leak blurred into one long, surreal fog. I moved through my own life like a ghost haunting familiar spaces. My phone remained silenced, my email inbox an open wound of unread messages, apologies from brands dropping me, scripts being reconsidered, networks reassessing their options. I was poison now. And Hollywood was nothing if not allergic to mess. But while the publicist in Natalie worked to keep my image from complete obliteration, I'd shifted my attention to the shadows, the quiet corners of the internet where rumors grow legs, where obsessions are born, where people like Julian could hide behind fake usernames and burner emails, fanning the flames from a safe distance. I started with the forums. Reddit threads. Discord leaks. Anonymous blogs with too much time and too much spite. I dove deep. I clicked every link, followed every trail of breadcrumbs, no matter how disgusting or soul-destroying. There was a subreddit already dedicated to the scandal, Tens of thousands of subscribers dissecting my downfall like it was a goddamn Netflix documentary. Some of the posts were just screenshots. Others were more sinister, manipulated timelines, proof that I'd been lying for years, fabrications tied to charity events, to exes, to movies I'd done a decade ago. And threaded through all of it, like a needle stitching chaos into order, was him. Not always by name, but by pattern. By obsession. By the way certain accounts knew things they shouldn't know. Private things. Details only someone close to me would have known. Julian wasn't just fueling this. He was orchestrating it. He hadn't disappeared after that indie film Wrapped. He'd gone underground. Reinvented himself. Script doctoring. Whisper campaigns. Anonymous consulting for tabloids. He had a new name in the system now, E.J. Wolf, and a reputation for fixing narratives. Irony, really. He used to dream of being an actor. Now he was just the man behind the curtain. I stared at my screen for hours, consuming every drop of digital poison until my eyes burned and my throat felt tight with rage. I found an account, at TruthSliced, that kept posting threads with details so specific, so surgically placed, I felt sick. One post read, "Remember that time Emma went missing for 4 days after filming The Drowning Game? She wasn't on a yoga retreat. She was checked into a private clinic in Arizona. Substance abuse, not stress. Open your eyes, people." That was a lie. Except, it wasn't entirely. I had disappeared for 4 days. But not for drugs. Not for rehab. I'd had a mental breakdown on set. Collapsed in my trailer after a 14-hour day and woke up crying on the floor. My team had covered it up, called it exhaustion, booked me into a secluded resort to recover. Only 4 people knew the truth. Julian had been one of them. I slammed the laptop shut, chest heaving. I couldn't keep going like this, chasing shadows, playing defense while he rewrote the script of my life. I needed help. Real help. Not PR spin, not legal threats. I needed someone who understood how this world worked. Someone who could fight back the way he did. I thought of Zoe. We hadn't spoken in years. Not since she'd quit the business, dropped off the grid, and moved up north to start a digital privacy firm. Back in the day, she was the best damn cyber analyst in the industry. Until a celebrity client used her to leak dirt on a rival actress, and she got blamed for the fallout. She took the fall, kept her mouth shut, and vanished. But if there was anyone who could trace digital fingerprints, it was her. I dug through old contacts, searched for aliases, whispered her name like a spell into the void. Finally, I found a number. No name, no email, just a clean line, registered to a post office box in Santa Rosa. I called it, not expecting anything. But someone picked up on the second ring. "Hello," a woman said. Flat. Guarded. "Zoe?" I asked. A pause. "Who's this?" "It's Emma," I said quietly. "Emma Marlowe." Another pause. Longer. Then, softly, "Jesus, I thought you were dead." "Not yet," I said. "But I might be soon." I told her everything. The photos. The email. The forum posts. Julian. Her silence stretched so long I thought she'd hung up. Then she spoke. "You're in deep. I know. I don't do this anymore. I wouldn't be calling if I had any other choice." Silence again. Then finally, "Send me everything. Every screenshot, every file, every IP trail.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
See what I can dig up. But Emma. What? If he's really the one behind this, if it's Julian, Then this goes deeper than you think. I swallowed hard. What do you mean? I've seen his name before, tied to other takedowns. A few influencers. An indie director who vanished after a scandal. This isn't just revenge. He's building something. Building what? A narrative empire, she said. One lie at a time. I hung up, hands shaking. My head was spinning. A narrative empire. What the fuck did that even mean? Later that night, I stood on my balcony with a glass of whiskey in my hand, the city blinking below like it didn't give a damn who lived or died. Somewhere out there, Julian was watching me crumble, knowing I'd see every new rumor, every cruel meme, every twisted caption beneath my face. He thought he'd broken me. He didn't realize he'd only awakened the version of me that didn't play nice anymore. And if Zoe was right, if I wasn't the only one he'd done this to, then maybe I wasn't just fighting for myself. Maybe I was about to start a war. Chapter 4. Echoes in the feed. They say the internet never forgets, but what they don't say, what they don't prepare you for, is that it doesn't forgive either. Once it turns on you, it becomes a living, breathing creature, hungry for carnage, addicted to outrage. Every hour that passed felt like another piece of me being fed to the wolves. But I wasn't a passive victim anymore. No. That phase was over. Zoe had been quiet for 2 days. She warned me she might go dark while she dug through layers of digital dirt. She needed time to trace the origins of the posts, the metadata behind the leaks, and the obscured trail of whoever Julian was using to cover his tracks. It was like watching a wildfire eat through a city block and waiting to see where the smoke would rise next. In the meantime, I stayed inside. Curtains drawn. Doors locked. Social media deleted. My phone stayed on silent unless it was Natalie or Leo. I tried meditation, breathing exercises, yoga, all that bullshit I once mocked in interviews as mental floss. None of it worked. The anxiety had rooted itself deep in my bones, and no amount of deep breathing could exorcise the feeling that I was being watched, hunted. On the 3rd morning, I finally cracked. I reinstalled Instagram. I knew I shouldn't. Natalie had explicitly told me to stay off social media, to avoid the temptation of diving into the cesspool of public perception. But silence wasn't helping me understand what was being said about me. And understanding was power. Or at least, that's what I told myself. The app opened like a punch to the gut. My name was still trending. My follower count had plummeted, millions lost in just days. But the engagement was through the roof. I clicked the search tab. The top post was a split image, a freeze frame from one of my emotional interviews about mental health paired next to one of the faked photos. Me holding a razor blade in a dimly lit bathroom, tears painted onto my face, eyes lifeless. Caption: Oscar-worthy, huh? The comments were worse. She's been lying from the start. All that talk about trauma and healing, she just wanted attention. If you cry on camera long enough, people forget you're a manipulative bitch. I closed the app, feeling like I'd swallowed acid. I spent the rest of the day pacing my apartment. The air felt thick, like I was breathing fog. I kept thinking about Zoe's words. He's building something. It echoed in my mind over and over, until it wasn't just a warning. It was a challenge. That night, Zoe finally called. I found something, she said without preamble. My breath caught. Tell me. Okay, so, this isn't just one guy trying to tank your career out of spite. He's part of a network. A closed, encrypted group that deals in information warfare. They call themselves the Archive. I blinked. The Archive. It's like a boutique propaganda firm for hire. Only they don't just spread disinformation. They create entire digital personas. Fake histories. Fake scandals. Fake lives. And then they release them like viruses into the online bloodstream. You're not their first target, but you're definitely their biggest. I sat down hard on the edge of my bed, heart thudding. So he hired them? Maybe. Or maybe he built it. Julian was always good at systems, at narratives. He doesn't just want to destroy you, Emma. He wants to rewrite you. From the inside out. I felt sick. Can you prove it? I'm close. I've traced several IPs connected to the @TruthSliced account you showed me. Most of them bounced through VPNs, but one slipped, just once. A static address in Burbank, linked to a co-working space. Guess who rented a suite there last year? Julian, I whispered. Bingo. I clutched the phone tighter. What do we do? Zoe's voice darkened. We take the fight to him. But not through lawyers or press statements. He thrives in silence. What he's afraid of is exposure. I already feel exposed, I said bitterly. No, she said. You feel humiliated. There's a difference. But if you want to win this, Emma, you have to be louder than him. Braver. And smarter. How? We build a counter-narrative. I'll help you gather everything. Proof of manipulation. Timeline inconsistencies. Psychological patterns. And then, we go public. My blood went cold. You mean post it? I mean document it. Build your own digital archive. Not as a victim, but as a storyteller. Your story. Your voice. Raw. Unfiltered. We fight fire with fire. I stayed up the entire night thinking about it. She was right. Julian had weaponized my identity, twisted my voice into something monstrous. If I stayed quiet, I was letting him tell the world who I was. But if I spoke, if I showed them the truth, even in pieces, I had a chance to reclaim my narrative. The next day, I started recording. Not for interviews. Not for press. Just for me. I sat in my closet, my little soundproof box of sanctuary, and hit record on my phone. And for the first time in weeks, I spoke without a filter. My name is Emma Marlowe. You think you know me. You think you've seen the truth. But you've only seen what someone wanted you to see. You've only seen the weapon he made out of me. I talked for over an hour. Cried once. Laughed. Bitterly. Twice. I told the story, not just the scandal but everything that led up to it. The toxic sets. The manipulation. The years of watching men like Julian fail upward while women like me had to claw for every inch of respect. I told the truth, even the messy parts. Especially the messy parts. When I finished, I felt lighter. Not healed. Not whole. But armed. Natalie was hesitant at first. She wanted to vet every word, craft a statement, build a campaign around it. But I told her no. This wasn't PR. This was personal. Within a week, Zoe had pulled together enough evidence to paint a map, a digital blueprint of Julian's crimes. His network. The fake accounts. The image composites. The metadata trails. It wasn't airtight, but it was enough. We launched a private site, emmaunfiltered.com. No branding. No ads. Just the truth. My recordings. My timeline. Zoe's forensic breakdowns. An open invitation for anyone else who had been burned by Julian, or by the archive, to come forward. Within 24 hours, the site had over 1 million visitors. Within 72, it had testimonies from 6 women, 2 former studio staffers, and 1 assistant director who claimed they'd also been targeted by digital campaigns tied to Julian. The story flipped. Slowly. Reluctantly. But it flipped. Reporters started calling, not to interrogate, but to listen. Hashtags changed. Hashtag Emmalide started fading. Hashtag EmmaUnfiltered began trending in its place. And Julian. He stayed silent. For a while. But I knew him too well to believe it would end there. He was watching. And I had just declared war. Chapter 5. The Man Behind the Curtain. There's a moment, an exact, pinpoint moment, when fear turns into something else. Not courage, exactly. Not clarity. But resolve. A cold, calculated stillness that settles into your bones. The kind that makes you walk toward the monster instead of running from it. The kind that whispers, "Burn it all down." I'd reached that moment. By the time the media flipped its tone, ever so slightly, like a weather vane twitching in a different direction, I had already shed the last layer of who I used to be. I wasn't trying to salvage my reputation anymore. I wasn't trying to get back to where I was. That version of me, Emma the darling, Emma the inspirational actress, Emma the one who overcame, was gone. I didn't want her back. She was too easy to destroy. Now, I wanted the truth. Raw, violent, uncompromised. And I wanted Julian Woolf to choke on it. The digital dossier Zoe had built was a masterpiece in quiet devastation. Each page laid out like a trial exhibit. Screen grabs of forum posts, timestamps from leaked files, artificial intelligence analysis showing deepfake traces in the viral images of me, code breakdowns, VPN trails, anonymous testimonials that Zoe encrypted and triple verified before publishing. We had mapped the shape of his monster, but we hadn't looked him in the eye yet. That was what came next. "I want to see him," I told Zoe one night as we sat in her dimly lit loft, the only sounds the low hum of her computer and the occasional clink of—
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
whiskey against glass. She didn't look up from the screen. "You're not ready for that." "I am." She sighed. "Emma, this isn't a movie. You don't get to confront the villain and walk away with closure and a 3-act arc. This is real life. He doesn't give a fuck about your catharsis." "This isn't about catharsis," I said. "It's about control." That made her pause. She turned slowly toward me, her eyes narrowing. "You're not going to get what you think you're looking for. I don't need him to apologize. I just need to see him bleed." She studied me for a long moment, then nodded once. "I'll get you an address." It took less than 24 hours. Julian had moved into a gated estate in Benedict Canyon. Classic LA elite behavior. His house was perched high above the rest of the city, shielded by hedges, security systems, and the illusion of invincibility. But no fortress is truly impenetrable when you know how to climb. I dressed in black. No makeup. Hair tied back. I didn't tell Natalie. I didn't bring Leo. I didn't even tell Zoe what I planned to say. I needed this moment to be mine. The security guard at the front gate barely glanced at me. I had come prepared, with a clipboard, fake visitor pass, and a believable story about delivering confidential legal paperwork from a law firm in Century City. Money helps, too. $100 bill and a quiet smile go a long way in this town. I walked up the driveway with ice in my lungs and rage in my chest. Julian opened the door himself. At first, he didn't recognize me. He blinked. His face had filled out a little. He'd shaved his signature stubble. He wore a black linen shirt unbuttoned at the top, barefoot, with a glass of red wine in one hand. Then, realization dawned. "Emma," he said slowly, as if tasting the word. "Well, fuck me. I thought you'd send lawyers. Or hitmen." "I'm both," I said. He smiled. That same predator smile I remembered from long ago. "You look good for someone who's been digitally crucified." I stepped inside without being invited. The house was as pretentious as I'd imagined. Polished marble floors. Modern art that looked like it cost more than most people's mortgages. Shelves of screenplays he'd never written, awards he hadn't earned, signed headshots from people who probably hated him. "What do you want?" he asked, walking slowly toward the living room. "I want you to admit it," I said. "I want to hear it come out of your mouth. You did this." He turned, still calm. Define this. The photos. The posts. The fucking smear campaign. You lit the match and watched me burn. He took a sip of wine. And what if I did? That stopped me cold. He hadn't denied it. Not even a flicker of protest. Just calm acceptance. Like I had accused him of stealing office pens. I should call the police, I said quietly. They'll laugh you out of the station, he replied. You think they care about digital warfare? About AI-enhanced revenge porn and image manipulation? It's all he said, she said, until a man's reputation gets touched. Then they act. He wasn't wrong. But hearing it from him made something inside me snap. I stepped closer. My voice was low, sharp. I trusted you. I defended you. And you repaid me by ripping my life apart for what? A part you didn't get? A grudge you couldn't let go? He stared at me, and for the first time, something flickered in his expression. Not guilt. Not remorse. Obsession. You were always going to leave me behind, he said softly. You think I didn't see it coming? You outgrew me. And I built you, Emma. I gave you edge. Complexity. Pain. You played off of me in that film, and they called you brilliant. But you were never the talent. You were the projection screen. I was the story. You're fucking sick. Am I? He said, voice suddenly rising. Or am I just the only one who tells the truth in a town of fucking liars? He threw his wine glass. It exploded against the wall behind me, red streaking across white like blood on porcelain. I didn't flinch. I looked him in the eye, stepped forward again, and said, You don't scare me anymore. You should be scared, he whispered. This was just the first wave. I turned and walked toward the door. You can't kill a ghost, Emma, he shouted after me. You can't cancel what doesn't exist on paper. But his voice faded behind me. Because in that moment, I wasn't scared. I was ready. By the time I got back to my car, my hands were shaking. My stomach was a mess. But my mind had never been clearer. Julian was unhinged. But he was also arrogant. And that arrogance was his blind spot. He thought hiding behind shadows made him immortal. But he underestimated me. He thought I was still the girl in his trailer. The girl who smiled through his insults. Who let him take credit for my light while he sharpened his claws in the dark. He had no idea who he was really dealing with now. Chapter 6. Burn the script. You reach a certain point, after the betrayal, after the humiliation, after the headlines and the sleepless nights, where you stop trying to fix what's been broken. Not because you've given up, but because you finally understand. Some things aren't meant to be repaired. Some things have to be burned. You don't clean rot. You torch it. That's where I was. The old version of me, the careful Emma, the polished Emma, the one who triple-checked her press notes and smiled through gritted teeth at studio execs who used words like likable and marketable, she was gone. I didn't want her back. She had survived too much and fought too little. This new version of me didn't beg to be believed. She came for war. The morning after I confronted Julian, I woke up feeling hollowed out but clear. The fear had burned off. All that remained was cold fire. I got dressed in silence, pulled my hair into a tight bun, and opened Zoe's latest email. Inside were attachments. Dozens of them. Documents, code breakdowns, back-end screenshots, IP pings, timestamps, user patterns, payment trails. The kind of digital footprints that only someone brilliant and pissed off could have uncovered. Julian had used a shell company to hire the archive, and Zoe had followed the money like a bloodhound. One transfer led to another. One shadowy invoice connected to a pseudonym Julian had used during his short-lived consulting career. E.J. Wolfe. He wasn't just hiding behind the curtain. He was the curtain. He didn't just leak the poison, he brewed it. And now, we had him. But truth without impact means nothing in a town built on illusion. So, I did the only thing that made sense. I weaponized the truth. I spent the next 48 hours locked in my apartment with Zoe and a small team she trusted. Hacktivists, whistleblowers, digital forensic nerds who had seen the internet's darkest corners and returned smarter. They weren't Hollywood. They didn't care about spin or brand optics. They cared about facts, freedom, and fire. We built something. Not just another video, not another tearful monologue or press statement. That was old-school warfare. This was scorched earth. We created an interactive exposé, part documentary, part data visualization, part manifesto. It was unlike anything the entertainment world had ever seen. Visitors could scroll through the smear campaign from the inside. They could see how AI-generated images were constructed and planted. They could read the code, see the user paths, watch the conspiracy unfold in real time. There was a map. A literal digital map that lit up with every known post Julian or the archive had planted over the last 5 years. Each node was clickable, complete with timeline evidence, attached names, social accounts, and corroborating stories from real victims who had come forward after my site went live. Each voice added to the volume. And mine. Mine was the thunder at the center of the storm. I recorded a single video. Just one. In it, I didn't cry. I didn't plead. I didn't justify. I explained. Controlled. And yes, angry. But not broken. Everything you've seen, I said, staring into the camera lens like I was looking directly into Julian's soul, was a story. A fiction. One man's revenge, amplified by a system that profits from public execution. This isn't just about me. This is about all of us. If they can erase me with a few manipulated photos and lies whispered in the right inboxes, they can erase anyone. We scheduled the launch for midnight. Natalie tried to stop me. She came by the apartment in person, hair disheveled, panic written all over her carefully managed face. "You're detonating your career," she hissed. "Emma, this is cyber warfare. It's dangerous. These people don't play fair. Studios won't touch you after this." "They already dropped me," I said. "There's still a chance to rebuild, if you let me handle this through channels. We can spin it. Quietly bury it." "No," I said. "We don't bury this. We don't bury him." She looked at me like she didn't recognize me anymore. And maybe she didn't. But Zoe did. Zoe understood. Zoe had always understood what it meant to be silenced, gaslit, used, and then tossed aside like a broken tool once your usefulness expired. We weren't actresses anymore. We were arsonists. And we were ready to burn the stage down. Midnight came like a held breath. And then we launched. Within an hour, the site crashed from traffic. We re-upped the servers. Within 2 hours, it was trending globally. Within 6, it was on the front page of every major entertainment news outlet, with headlines like, "Emma Marlowe's Digital War. The actress turns whistleblower in explosive exposé."
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Who is E.J. Wolf? The alleged puppet master behind Hollywood's most dangerous smear campaign. Burn the script. How one woman took down a narrative empire. Julian didn't respond publicly. Not at first. But we could see the ripples. Several shell accounts that used to defend him went silent. Blog posts vanished. Certain forums started shutting down or deleting entire threads. The archive was folding. But I knew better. This wasn't over. So we pushed further. 2 more women stepped forward. One was a former child star who had disappeared from the spotlight after a mysterious meltdown at 19. The other was a documentarian who accused Julian of manipulating her film into a hit piece before leaking an accidental nude to the press. He had done this for years. Silently. Surgically. And now, the silence was collapsing under the weight of the truth. By the end of the week, the studio that had once distanced itself from me was now under fire for ignoring warning signs. Sponsors that dropped me came crawling back with half-hearted apologies. A streaming platform offered to acquire the rights to the exposé as a limited series. I turned them all down. Because this wasn't content. This was a reckoning. And just when we thought we'd seen the worst of him, Zoe found something else. Buried in the metadata of one of the deepfakes. A signature. An encrypted tag. Hidden in the binary. Almost invisible. But not to her. It said, "Wolf wins." He wanted us to find it. Zoe looked at me with her lips pressed into a line. "He's not finished." "I know," I whispered. The game had changed. Again. This wasn't about erasing me anymore. It was about control. Chaos. Ego. Julian didn't want to win quietly. He wanted to win loudly. He wanted a final act. A grand finale. A curtain call soaked in gasoline. And if he wanted fire, I would give him an inferno. Chapter 7. Ashes and applause. There's a silence that comes right before impact. Not the kind you hear, but the kind you feel in your bones. A breath caught in the universe's throat. A stillness that warns you, this is the moment everything will change. And I felt it. Standing in the center of my apartment, watching the cursor blink on my screen, my pulse was steady, but my mind was loud. The fire I'd lit was spreading, across the industry, across the internet, across the unspoken corridors where power had always thrived behind locked doors. Julian wasn't just unraveling. He was cornered. And men like him didn't go down quietly. That final encrypted tag, "Wolf wins," wasn't just a signature. It was a threat. A reminder that he still believed the story belonged to him. That I was still a character in his script. That he thought he could flip the ending one last time and walk away the victor. But he had made one fatal mistake. He thought I was playing the same game. He hadn't realized I had already burned the script. And now I was writing the ending myself. It happened 3 days after the exposé went viral. I was supposed to speak at a digital ethics summit, remotely, a pre-recorded address about AI, deepfakes, and my journey from public pariah to public advocate. Safe. Controlled. Clean. But Zoe called me the night before. "He's staging something," she said, voice tight. "I've been tracking certain keywords. There's chatter, cryptic posts, password-locked threads on fringe boards. Someone's planning a drop." "A drop?" I asked. "A counter-narrative. Something big. Julian's signature all over it." I closed my eyes. "What kind of drop?" "Personal. Ugly. And timed to coincide with your speech." My stomach twisted. It was his last card. One final hit to silence me. To stain the new version of myself just as it started to rise from the ashes. "I need to get ahead of it," I whispered. "No," Zoe said. "You need to own it." The next morning, the summit began. I logged on, camera ready, notes prepped, makeup minimal. I wore black, not for elegance, but for war. Halfway through the panel before mine, Zoe messaged me a link. "Incoming, wolfisright.net. Countdown set for 11:45 a.m. My speech was scheduled for 11:50. He wasn't even being subtle. He was going to nuke me in real time. I stared at the countdown. 40 minutes. 39. 38. I thought of every time I'd been told to be quiet. To smile. To take the high road. I thought of all the men who had been protected by silence. All the women who had been drowned in it. And I made my decision. When my cue came, I didn't deliver the polished statement the organizers had approved. I went off script. Completely. The screen flickered to life and there I was, Emma Marlowe, live from the war zone. Before I begin, I said, voice steady, I need to tell you something. Not about deepfakes. Not about AI. About truth. I looked directly into the lens. There is a site being launched right now, in this very moment, designed to discredit me. It will show videos, images, messages, all fabricated, all manipulated, but convincing. You'll look at them and wonder if they're real. Some of you will believe they are. That's okay. That's the point. That is the danger. I paused. Let the silence breathe. Because this isn't just about me. This is about what happens when technology falls into the hands of people who want to rewrite your story for you. People like Julian Wolfe. There were gasps from the moderators off-screen. But I didn't stop. This man weaponized my image, my voice, my body. He turned public opinion into a weapon and used it to destroy careers, reputations, lives. And he did it because he could. Because the tools exist. Because the systems enable it. And because too many of us, especially women, are expected to sit down and shut up when the narrative turns against us. I leaned forward. Well, I'm done shutting up. I unplugged my notes. Looked dead into the camera. If you watch that video, know this, it's fake. But even if it weren't, even if it was real, ask yourself, why is it more scandalous to see a woman naked than to watch a man ruin her life in secret? Silence. Stillness. And then, applause. Not online yet. Not from the public. But from the panel. From my team. From the backstage crew. I could see their faces light up. Shock. Relief. Respect. And then, the real applause came. The site launched. And it backfired. The public was ready now. Educated. Angry. Empowered. Instead of shame, it sparked outrage. Not at me, but at him. The manipulations were picked apart in seconds. Zoe's community flooded the URL with counterdata. Journalists, armed with our exposé and forensics, tore it apart in real time. By evening, Julian Wolfe was trending for the last time. Not as a misunderstood genius. Not as a shadowy storyteller. But as a predator. A coward. A relic. The wolves turned on him. Brands he'd worked with issued statements of disassociation. Former clients surfaced with stories. A former archive employee dropped leaked files to a watchdog group. Lawsuits were prepared. One studio offered to fund a documentary to explore the actual story behind it all. Not from his perspective, but from ours. And I didn't celebrate. I didn't post a victory selfie or a triumphant monologue. I took a walk. Just me. Alone. Through a quiet canyon trail, phone off, no cameras, no pressure to perform. The wind on my skin. The dirt beneath my boots. A reminder that I existed long before the headlines. That I would exist long after them. When I reached the overlook, I stopped and sat on a stone bench, staring out across the Los Angeles skyline. The city glowed beneath me, still buzzing, still spinning its dreams and nightmares. I pulled a piece of paper from my pocket. It was the last page of a script Julian and I had once written together, our first collaboration, never sold, never finished. On it was a single line of dialogue he wrote for me back when we were friends. You can't burn what's already turned to ash. I lit a match. Watched the flame curl. Then dropped it. The paper burned easily. Cleanly. The words disappeared in seconds. I didn't need them anymore. I had written a new ending. And this time, I didn't need permission to speak.
Step into the world of power, loyalty, and luck.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
With family, cannolis, and spins mean everything.
Now, you wanna get mixed up in the family business.
Introducing The Godfather at ChumbaCasino.com. Test your luck in the shadowy world of The Godfather slot.
Someday, I will call upon you to do a service for me.
Play The Godfather now at ChumbaCasino.com.
Welcome to the family.